sustainable products and like to go types of things, or just really spotlighting some of the businesses in our community that do that sustainable effort, and even have someone from maybe Granger or some of our waste management, our local waste management groups have a representative, just a place where we can just have it all out and have all the information and have fun too.
Any comments? This is a self-regulated meeting, so feel free to pipe in. If you want to raise your hand, you can, but if you'd like to just, a lot of it is just listening, so it's fine to be quiet as well, but go ahead, whoever wants to fight over.
I can elaborate a little bit more on that. We've, Emma and others at the market were finding that this, we think people know what recycling is, but people do not know how to prepare their items, i.e. clean them. And there's an awful lot of confusion about what you can actually recycle and what you just wish you could. And so you throw it in anyway. And that sort of thing. That was some of the discussion. Also, we talked about having a little demonstration, have some items, have some actual items that are recyclable items out there so people know what we're exactly talking about when we say plastic bottles, plastic tubs, whatever stuff.
Plus, I think it's important to also have what isn't recyclable, because my son still puts out his kitty litter boxes that have foil on the outside, and I'm like, So some of both would be great.
Well, I've always found, you got to be careful, because if you show people stuff that you don't want, that's what they remember. And maybe show them pictures of what you don't want rather than actual items.
There'd have to be some kind of really, really visible cue, like a big red no, or something that dominates the visual, right? I would suggest, I know Emma mentioned, maybe Granger or waste management. And I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but I have been at events where they've had booths, and I have unfortunately found that sometimes, I'm not going to say this is always, but I found sometimes that they don't have a lot of nuanced information, which I think is what we're going for here. So I wonder if we could get somebody from Eagle who's part of that Recycling Raccoons campaign, because they're getting a little more specific about how to clean things, what you can, what you can't. And unless somebody's had a different experience, like I said, I don't want to knock the whole place, because they probably are very knowledgeable people, but that's been my personal experience.
They just came out with a video on Facebook that I wanted to share, but didn't get a chance. But it looked along those lines, where they were really specifically going through the recycling raccoons were going through items. So I think that's a great idea.
Ellen mentioned that in a conversation today. Go ahead, Ellen.
Yeah, the big word that I hear in this discussion is fun. It is relatively easy to put a table out with all kinds of information and staff it with people who have information, but that is not fun. At least that's my experience. And I love the idea of making it fun, drawing people in with activities or whatever. So I think the idea is terrific, but it may be that it needs to start planning, right away for a summertime. And we need to make sure that it doesn't bump into other things. I understand that the art fair may be bumped to early August, for example. So you want to maximize your time.
Yeah, Tom Carey. Oh, sorry. I was mentioning this to the farm market manager and also the director at the Parks and Rec. And so we could definitely, pin down more of a time. In my mind, I was kind of thinking September for some reason. And I don't know if I personally, we didn't put on the Celebrate Meridian this year, but that's kind of where I got the idea from, because we started working on that last year, and we throw this huge event with food trucks and all this great stuff. So why can't we do that for something sustainable oriented?
Stephanie?
We did have a game kind of like that for kids at the Home and Garden Show, and I had it, I think, one time at the farmers market, maybe even 2 times. But it was very kid oriented, so it had crumbled up paper and like very clear aluminum cans and stuff that kids really need to know about because they come in contact with it. The thing I would be a little bit worried about is in times of COVID, you cannot sanitize that stuff between people using it. So we are running into a practical problem there.
Well, these are great ideas. We don't have to come up with a definitive plan right now, but I like the idea of beginning to kind of fill in some of the details. And obviously Emma and her staff in the Parks Department, who are intimately involved with the market, are going to have some good ideas as well. So, Sarah?
The other thing that always concerns me, especially with COVID, is the takeout containers. And I think it could be an interesting thing to have Chipotle or the other ones that have containers that are not plastic, that they use, whatever form that they come in that paperboard or whatever those things are. Just educating others and trying to educate other corporations. This is maybe a local level thing, but encouraging other corporations to continue to stop thinking that they can't afford to buy that stuff. And, the idea that they can only afford plastic, which clearly other corporations like Chipotle, and there are many others, I don't know their names exactly, but there are plenty other options or plenty other corporations that are using non-plastic. And if we could encourage our people to seek that out, I think could be really helpful, especially, with COVID, so many people are doing takeout. And I know that I have so much takeout that I'm just holding on to, hoping that at some point the 3 through 7 are going to be collected again, since they haven't been collected for months. So that's one of the big things for me.
So
Go ahead,
if I
Michelle.
could build on that for just a second, because some of you know that I'm involved in a project to try to bring awareness and mitigate microplastic pollution. So a lot of my messaging, especially because of COVID and what Sarah just said, there's a lot of concerns about whether material is even being recycled if you recycle it. We've been really focusing our message on just reduce as much as you can. Don't take, which gets in, you do have to get into sometimes the economic issues. Not everybody can do every sustainable thing that's out there economically, but knowing what some of your options are, I think is really helpful, reducing where you can. So anything we can do to promote that message, I think, is normalize it a little bit, that.
Are you guys interested in a little activity that actually Michelle is responsible for turning us on to indirectly through Cliff? It's a little bit of, it's using notepads. Maybe some of you have done this before. A Google document, and we just fill out, brainstorm ideas for about 5 minutes about things that we might want to include at a recycling event. Are you willing to try that for 5 minutes for those of you who have access to a keyboard? Ellen, I'll share the screen. If you don't have access to a keyboard and then you're not driving, you can look at the screen, and well, let's just do this. Keep it at like 4 or 5 minutes. And what basically, do you see a Google document in the chat window?
Yep.
Okay, if you just go to that link and then click one of the colorful notepads. I think it's the second slide. And you can just start adding your ideas. You could have mentioned these already. So it's okay to repeat. But anything related to recycling events, and I will share this screen in a second. And hopefully you'll just see it being populated.
And Emma, if you want to shout stuff out, I'll add it for you.
Oh, great idea, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Oh,
No,
wow.
honestly, I really love that was the other thing Tom, Carrie, and I were talking about is really reducing your use a big spotlight too. And he's been really interested in getting recycling and composting up and going at the market. So maybe this is something we can also all collaborate on to help him get that going.
Yeah.
I spoke too soon. I'm having trouble.
I just put composting on,
Okay, good.
having the same thought as Emma.
There we go. Okay.
Let's see.
The nice thing about this little tool is that you're taking the notes for me, and I can just share this later. And you can also add to it after the meeting if you'd like, but I would just encourage you to add any additional thoughts within the next couple hours if you think of anything. Is anybody having problems or have any questions? Now, am I correct, Michelle, that you added this or used this for the microplastics discussion?
Yeah, it was a hit. It was a hit there, and it's been kind of a hit everywhere else. Yeah, it's odd because it's so quiet, but you get but you don't have to capture, everything. People can put things in their own words and less note taking for the facilitator. It's pretty great.
I really love this, and I think it's so useful for those who might not always want to speak up or, I think this is a wonderful thing that I plan to use.
I just thought of it about 20 minutes ago. I figured, it's not that hard. You can just copy the presentation and, recycle the electrons. So, okay, well, this is great. Want a couple more? Want another minute or two?
Somebody type in ditch the straws.
Amen.
Oh, I think someone
Do you
wrote
see
over
the
it.
pasta straws they use in Italy now?
Already.
That's
Oh,
Oh, you're
So
fixing that.
long as it's straw plural.
ditch the.
Otherwise, they'll think we're against hay.
straws.
Okay, well,
Got it.
thank you for giving this experiment a little shot. And the link trainingforchange.org has templates that you can use if you want to use this yourself. They also
Let's
have
not
some,
forget to add John. Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. I was just thinking of John Esser and his incredible
The music.
sustainability music.
Yeah.
Good one.
Do you remember the green businesses, Leroy?
Yep,
How-
the Green Star.
Yeah. I would like to revisit that.
Hmm.
I like that idea. Okay. I noticed electronics recycling still seems very necessary.
Mhm.
Why don't we move on and let's see here and talk a little bit about whether we want to try. I want to get a general sense from y'all if we think we should do another big event, possibly in late September, early October. Are you okay with moving on?
Yes.
Who put that on a slide, unless you want to remain anonymous, and what are your thoughts about that?
I put it on the slide. If you do the event in September, then I wish you a lot of fun with it. I would have been around for a spring event, but I will not be around for a fall event anymore. But I do think in general, we do need to get information out. What should people do with electronics? Because like we still have a lot more electronics in use, a lot more people sorting through their houses, through their to their apartments and recycling stuff. So I do think that is one of the big areas where we at least should provide a solution. Whatever the solution is, the solution could be we tag on to the farmers market and like collect the electronics there in a site area. We don't need to have the whole setup from a real recycling event. I think that could be slimmed down a little bit, but I do think some kind of solution for that problem should not be forgotten.
In the same vein, I would really like us to continue to hold events, even if it's only once a year, because eventually COVID will go away, and I would like to return to 2 events a year.
I strongly support that, 2 events.
I agree too.
Yeah. Excuse me, because I haven't been with the group for a while. Because of COVID, is that why the focus is only on a September event for 2021?
That was the initial, I think that was a big motivator.
Or is it the
There was
cost?
Well, there was also the Recycle-Rama decided not to move forward. And we kind of had a critical mass of interest. We had an enthusiastic green team, I mean, that was willing to give it a try. And we had, I think that was the main thing right there. We also ended up getting a fair amount of support from other communities, like Lansing, East Lansing threw in $500 each. The state of Michigan threw in $1,000, and that helped defray the $10,000 electronics bill that we got. So we're not sure what's going to happen this fall with Recycle-Rama, but right now it's kind of a 50-50 thing. So.
But I do want to echo Anne. I was completely surprised when you seemed to completely assume that we are talking about a fall event. I wasn't yet aware that we canceled the spring event. So maybe I missed it. I might have missed a meeting even. I'm not, but I'm not sure if that was clear to everybody in the room before we came to the meeting.
Apologies. I mean, it's not impossible that we do move forward in the spring, but given the situation in the schools, I think
volunteers are a concern.
But schools are going back to in-person classes. Is that the reason that schools are an issue?
The schools have to go back or have to offer in-person school starting March. Okomos has immediately made the decision to only start in the 2nd or 3rd week of March and not in the 1st week. But in general, school need to provide that again. Okomos will only go back with part of their, like probably even the smaller part of their population. Sport events happen again in a very, very different schedule. So I'm not sure if that will be happening in spring and if we would collide parking lot space wise, because like I'm not sure, a few people for sure remember when we had lacrosse tournament and recycling event at the same day, and we were trying to figure both of that out. I don't think we would be able to do that anymore. Don't think we would have enough space for that.
I know right now with the township, and I mean, this could absolutely change, and I haven't received any updates that it has changed, but I have to limit my volunteer work days to 25 people, even in an outdoor setting, which of course, you know, once again, that can change anytime, but right now that's, so everything is very much pre-registration, like you need to RSVP, that sort of thing. So something to think about for spring.
What if we did something like Saturdays, like a couple of different Saturdays? Maybe we could get by with a smaller truck. I mean, I'd be happy to check with Valley City. I like Stephanie's idea of doing something when she's here, especially. She's sort of our master electronics organizer. But I don't know. We don't have to decide right now, but what do other people think? Do we want to try and do something this spring, or what are your thoughts?
I think we should try because I think there's plenty of people that are trying to get rid of their electronics, and if they don't have something, they're going to dump them.
My bigger concern is getting enough volunteers to actually collect whatever is brought to us. If we don't have the staff to deal with it, it's just going to be a giant headache and the public will get angry. And yeah.
So
Well,
how many volunteers did we have in fall? Because I think if we we had that nice double setup in fall, which I mean was super luxurious, but I'm not sure we actually need it. I think fall would have been somewhat crazy because it was announced so widely, like beyond Okemos, that we had quite a few cars coming, but technically we could have done it with one lane if we had to. So I am wondering, I think we could have scaled that down to half the volunteers. Would that make the situation better? And what do we think, how will numbers behave? Like we have now 1 year of experience how numbers behave. Can we make any predictions because actually I'm not completely sure that April is the best time. We had a pretty slow summer. We could have done June really nicely last year. We definitely don't want to do Thanksgiving. I think we've learned that. But can we make any predictions when might be a good time when we might be allowed to do it so we don't have to cancel last minute because numbers go crazy?
I just remember being at the one in September and when Valley City decided to close down one lane and it got so bogged up. So, I mean, I would like to keep it at 2 lanes, but that was my first time ever doing it. So I've not seen what's happened in the past.
I have not had the pleasure of experiencing the recycling event. I had to miss the most recent one. But this is definitely something that I know quite a few of my conservation corps groups would be super interested in helping out with. So I'm always happy to help on that end.
That's awesome, Emma. Any thoughts about using the mall? I mean, like in a popular Saturday event, do you think there would be a space nearby where we could set up in the mall? Anybody? I mean, I could look into that. I don't even know if it's a possibility, but there's so much parking area. It seems almost.
I totally think you could make that work back on that side that's on near where Best Buy, not on the Planet Holly or Planet Fitness side, especially if it's because that would be close to the market in viewable space to the market. I think that's a great idea.
If the cart barn is closed, you have a ton of space back there. I'm not sure what's happening if it's opening again. But the last farmers markets, in fall where the weather was still nice, there was a lot of empty space.
It'd be nice if it was close to a educational booth. Okay, well, this is great that we're talking about this. I'm pretty open because I realize that I'm just a very small cog in the wheel here. If there's enthusiasm on this team for something, it's going to happen whether or not I agree with it. Hate to admit that, but it's so true. No, I'm actually happy to admit that. How about any of you who haven't had a chance to speak? You want to pipe in on any of these thoughts we've brought up? Anyone else want to weigh in, or should we move on?
I'm still very interested in people that could job shadow. If we don't have an event before Stephanie disappears, is there any way that we can spread the word that we would love for somebody to be able to attempt to fill her shoes? And if she has time and is willing to spend a day or something with some new person. Likewise, traffic control on these things is always an exciting job. Or my own job, volunteer coordinator. If there are people out there in the public that are very interested in being more involved, and in fact would like to take my job or Elaine's job whenever she's willing to give it up, or Leroy's job, or anybody. You know, I would love to encourage that.
I love the idea of offering job shadowing opportunities, and I certainly would love someone to consider coordinating or co-coordinating. Sometimes the co-coordinating is less, it's more manageable because you realize you don't have to do the whole thing and you've got help.
What?
Go ahead.
While Stephanie's around, I would be willing, and I would love to job shadow with her so I can get a better feel for the electronics and take that over when she's not gone. And I would love if somebody would co-coordinate that with me, but if not, I would like to suck all the knowledge out of Stephanie's brain before she leaves.
And I do think Stephen Noble actually did it the last time on the other lane. So he should have a pretty good knowledge. If we decide we only do the fall event, I would definitely try to tag him in. Like, he should know how electronics works. He ran that last time.
Steve is the electronics coordinator for the state of Michigan. And by the way, Tom was really helpful with traffic last fall, and Sarah has agreed to sort of job shadow with Dave, who couldn't make it tonight, although he hopes to be available in the future. But I don't know, Sarah, if you still feel comfortable in that traffic role, but you did a great job with Dave.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of take the lead on that the next time for Dave.
And I don't know if, Tom, you want to do work with any of us on a job shadowing. No pressure at all, but sometimes just having a helpful person is a breath of fresh air. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, I'm open, so I'd be happy to do that. I've only done the one event last year and did the traffic, so learning other aspects would be good as well. And I guess just as far as comments, my only thought was, you know, possible conflicts with one another on these events. If we're doing the farmers market and do like the mall the same day or part of the same event, does that take away from the educational component, or would we be better off doing two separate events? And then also looking at Recycle Rama, if that is going to happen, you know, do we want to stay away from that time frame for our own electronics event? So just a few minor thoughts there.
These are great ideas. Any other comments about events before we sort of move on for a brief discussion about the recycling center?
I do have one more sticky that I wanted to bring up. There's a sticky: is textile recycling still going to happen? If somebody has an answer to that, that might be something that could be really easily tagged on to an electronic recycling event without any big preparation. If somebody knows who actually does textile recycling, because I don't anymore.
I know somebody who does take old textiles, but she also I think she owns a sewing shop, so I don't know. She doesn't actually go through the recycling process, but she really upcycles them. But she might know something more.
Well, it was my understanding that
Planet 8.
that our recycling center was working with the textile recycler that I had identified last year, but COVID happened and they stopped operations in the state for a while, and they're supposed to be coming back this year, but I have not heard anything about it, so I don't know. Do you know, Leroy? What's happening there?
I haven't heard anything. Would you be willing to do a little research on that, Elaine? Or do you want me to? I'll see if I can dig up my notes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably start with talking to Trevor to see where they are, because they were talking
Right.
as far as
And-
I understood it.
Right. And then they shut down the state operations, and that's what Trevor knows.
Right.
And Trevor, unfortunately, is not chomping at the bit to expand recycling because it's more work and it's more unpaid work for him and his staff. But it does diversify the services that we offer there, but that's, anyway. Yeah, if you'd like
So
to.
I'm not sure what I'll be able to find out,
Okay.
especially if he's not keenly interested. But
Trying to offer textile recycling at an event as opposed to all the time year round would be highly beneficial. I think you could fill up a semi at the drop of a hat.
yes.
No pun intended.
This company, when I talked to this company, which I believe it was called Planet Aid, they told me they were interested in a one-time event as well as the drop boxes that they do place. Except they weren't allowing, the township wasn't allowing those drop boxes anymore, we discovered. So that's what was going to happen at our recycling center, was they were going to locate the drop boxes there, the clothing drops, which would also take unusable clothing and flat out, scrap textiles. But then everything, the bottom fell out of everything. So, yeah, I'll have to find my notes from that company.
Okay, I might be able to help with that too. Go ahead, Sarah. Sorry.
From what you've learned before in that research, do they limit what kind of fabric is allowed? Textile is allowed?
No.
Like, does it limit synthetic or anything?
Did not.
Okay.
I believe they took mixed whatever goods. Yeah.
Wondering that too. Yeah. Seems like it would be complicated with the way they're making things now.
It might be an interesting tie with our microplastics education too. Okay.
So I just posted in the chat what they have on their website. It does not say anything on there that they completely stopped operations, which surprises me a little bit because everybody else kind of did. But they at least don't have it on their website, so they might be still working.
Yeah.
Whose website?
Planet Aid.
Yeah. Right.
When you mentioned the name, I was looking it up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, they didn't completely stop, but they stopped in Michigan and some other states.
Well, this is a good segue into our discussion about the recycling center. And why don't we do a little bit more research on location? And I appreciate the idea of including the textiles. And any other parting comments before we just move on? You didn't have a chance to say what was on your mind? Oh, I'm excited that there's some possibilities here and that you guys are excited about it. I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that there's the political will, there's money in the budget to do some improvements at the recycling center. Some of you were involved with a tour that we did last month, and Trevor is on board. He's been suggesting some ideas. But the green team has always had some good insights. Some of you regularly use the recycling center, like Ellen. Who else regularly uses the recycling center? A few of you? Okay. So you've got firsthand experience. And I just wanted to take a few minutes to see if you had any other particular ideas. And what I can share my screen again. We can do a little post-it note thing on the next slide. But I also wanted to briefly just share what has come up at the tour. And I'll put that in the chat window, perhaps, if you can see the chat window. So improving the driveway is a big one. maybe doing a building. I mean, that's probably the next biggest thing, and maybe including some equipment in that. The key to a state grant is actually increasing our ability to recycle material. So as I mentioned with Reclaim by Design, there's a little bit of a tension there because their biggest profit margin is yard waste and trash. So they have a financial incentive to expand their trash pickup, but recycling is more just something we have to include in their contract to give them this permission to use this site and to be our contractor. So our contract goes hand in hand with their business interests of just getting people in there. Does that make sense? So anybody want to make it, any of you that were on the tour that want to add anything? Or make
That
any
building
comments?
is abysmal. The building needs, in order to maintain the space, I think it's crucial that the building get an upgrade because these guys don't have a bathroom. I mean, they're staffing this place and they don't have a bathroom. And there's rotted wood for the, it's a cinder block thing. And as Leroy says, if you could have machinery kept for them to do the job of recycling and making things neater and tidier, more people would enjoy using it. I must say, I was in there a couple weeks ago when it was just bitter cold. And there were 2 people ahead of me and 2 people were coming in as I was leaving. So it's a valuable resource. The community, I think, really appreciates it being there. If it were neater and tidier and that road were smooth as silk, why, I can only think of good things for it.
Mm-hmm. Can you guys see the sticky notes on screen? Do you want to put any questions or thoughts that you have down about the recycling center? And again, we'll just do this for 3 or 4 minutes. But I wanted to tap your brains briefly about any of these ideas that have come up, or any thoughts. One of my, since I'm sharing my screen, I don't have access. Well, I haven't figured out how to access my Google document. But if someone could put convenient electronic drop-off and storage, that would be helpful.
Say that again.
Convenient electronic storage and drop-off. Thank you. Anybody want to add textiles?
Yeah, but mine doesn't seem to work. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, mine's not working either. It worked the first time.
Yeah, so did mine.
Could you refresh your screen maybe? Yeah, I feel a little guilty for bringing a totally different subject up when you were so enthusiastic about a recycling event, but this has been something that's been on our agenda over the years, and we've got the real opportunity to make some improvements.
Honestly, I don't mind because I feel like it fits into the fact that, like we're trying to make recycling to be better overall, and we do 1 or 2 events a year, but this is all encompassing in my book, so I don't mind that at all.
Anybody want to put used cooking oil on there?
Ooh.
Oh, that would be more convenient than driving to Holt. Of course, I only go to Holt when I'm going that way. I don't make a trip there.
How about
Yes, I still can't function.
okay. Well, we can
Something
abort
else I'll have
this.
to- Mm.
How about a cafe or pub, brew pub?
Coffee shop? Oh, sure. Well, yeah, maybe a microbrewery, huh?
I want better
Across the
bins.
street on the lake there. Or something.
I don't know if it was Emma that brought up the idea of a garden or like a pollinator garden.
Yeah.
Was that you,
probably it
Emma?
was. Yeah, probably it was. I don't
Hey,
know if
sorry. I'm just about
Oh,
to be barraged by
here.
my dogs here.
Hmm.
Yes, I did. Well, one of the and I don't know exactly where you're talking about. What location are you talking about?
At the recycling center on Lake Drive.
Oh, no, that I don't know if that was me. I mean, I want to put pollinator gardens everywhere, so it could be, but I would definitely be a resource for that if you want.
Whoever put pickup of mulch, I think they do that already.
Should,
I
I can't make mine work.
problem.
Should paving the road or paving go on here, or is that a done deal?
Yeah, go ahead and put it down. It's
I can't, mine won't work. So
Okay,
somebody
I'll-
else has to.
Road improvement, anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
it's
I
okay
have
for
a question. Is there, I don't know how many acres we have there. Is there room to expand that site a little bit? Because things are so crowded in there now.
It's a
Add more
wetland.
stuff would be difficult. Well,
It
it
is a
does look like a
wetland.
wetland.
Yeah.
yeah.
Somebody
we
do a rain
really
garden,
can't-
Emma.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's actually that would even be cooler because wetlands have
Surprised we can even be in a wetland area. But,
have needs so much more spotlight. We could do some
Mhm. You're fading out, Emma. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for your ideas. Anyone want to throw out any additional verbal ones before we close this piece of our meeting up? While I'm thinking about it, Michelle, did you hire a bookkeeper yet?
I just posted the job on Monday, but if anybody knows anybody, 30
Can you-
hours a week, get to work in a fireplace heated farmhouse, do help with conservation work. Let people know we need somebody. I'm trying to be 2 people right now, and it's a lot.
So if you got bookkeeping skills
Michelle,
or
you
know
kinda-
somebody.
You kind of cut out on that, but definitely forward that to me, and I can send it out to my network if.
Yeah, well, I did post it on, I think you follow our Facebook page, right? So I did put a post there if that's a good way to share it for you.
Great, yeah, I will definitely check that out.
Yeah, we're looking for invasive species crew members too. So if you know anybody, send them our way.
Oh yeah, I definitely know some people.
I bet you do.
Conservation districts are taking on some recycling responsibilities in their communities that they serve. So really appreciate you being here, Michelle. And without you, that tree initiative would not have been near as successful.
Well, thank you. It was really fun. We should plant more trees.
There is interest in
She
doing
says in the
it.
dead of winter when it's.
There's definitely interest in that. In fact, the township board wants to do a big project in Hazlet. So if you've got any thoughts on where and who, even beyond the Green Schools grants.
Mhm.
I also want to encourage everyone, some of you have tuned in on Wednesday mornings, but if love to have you part of that those conversations. It's been started with Sarah and her green team last Earth Week, just merging forces and having some online conversations about what to do around Earth Day. And it's just continued. And every week it's I know it's hard to squeeze it in if you're working or online somewhere else, but just set up another monitor at your desk, Stephanie, and tune in with us. Anything else for the good of the whole? All right, well, we'll keep it under an hour today, and thanks for all your ideas. And let's please keep on my, keep asking me about how are things going, and if you'd like to take on a role to help maybe coordinate something at the market, or if you have other ideas you want to throw out there that occur to you in the morning or next week. Otherwise, do you want to try and get together again next month? Maybe. If you look at your calendars, do we want to shoot for say Thursday, the 11th, or March 4th is Onward Day. But how does the 11th look for you?
Oh, that's my birthday. I don't know. Yeah, I can do it. Like, what am I going to be doing on my birthday anyway? Except
party for Elaine.
Being here.
Yeah, the 11th works for me.
I'll probably have a 6:30 meeting that night too. So, which I do tonight because it's the second Thursday. I have the evening meeting.
That'll be a good reason for us to.
But that's okay.
Keep it to an hour. And with Stephanie, are you moving back to Germany?
Yep. My husband is moving back mid-March, and Anna and I are planning on following in June.
So there's a renewed sense of urgency to get our act together here.
We will miss you a lot. Wow.
I do have several bins in my basement that I would like to hand off. I did realize that when I was looking stuff through.
Well, I'm so glad, Anne, that you could join us, and Michelle and Emma too. It just adds a lot of important flavors to this meeting. So I'll talk to you.
Here.
Talk to you soon. Maybe next month, if not
Thanks,
sooner.
everybody.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank
Have
you.
a great
Thanks,
night.
Roy. Thank you.
Well,
Hey,
that'd be
Lori,
fun.
can I tell you some good news?
That'd be great.
Yeah, so I got approval from my board to do the Green Neighbors Network information sharing. So I did my first post this week, and I'm going to try and do one. It said 1 to 4 a month, so maybe weekly, but at least monthly. It's the bare minimum. So
Fantastic.
yeah, they were all in favor of it, which is nice. This is nice to hear. They're not really in this circle, so it's always nice when you get support from people who aren't obsessed with this stuff like we are.
That is great. Just so happy you're getting involved. And of course, Michelle is a resident too, correct?
Yes. A vested interest in this whole thing too. Yep. Well, good to see everybody.
Awesome.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Guys, have a good night.
Is it 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock? Sure, if that works for you on the 11th.
Okay, thank you.
Will you send out a thing, Leroy?
Yeah, I'll send out a link. It'll probably be the same one that I sent for this meeting, but
Right, but even just a reminder that the meeting will happen.
Yeah, send a reminder though.
yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for being here, Ellen. This is a historic moment for Ellen
You
on
know how to
Zoom.
read this music?
Is that shape note singing?
I did learn that in school, how to read that.
All I know is that it's from the 13th century and I don't know how to read it.
That is cool.
Wow.
I do know that we learned that at some point, and I do remember that the note says nothing about how long you hold it. There's
Great.
some strange indicator that for some reason you know how long you hold the note. At least it was completely clear to our music teacher, and it remained a mystery to me all through that time we studied that. What I don't remember is there is a key signature, but I don't remember which one they used. I know it was strange and it was different, but it is on there. I see it at the beginning of your line, but I don't remember which one it is.
Is that a genuine artifact?
Yes, I have a vague recollection. I was 9, somewhere in Spain, mom and dad going into a little shop, and the lady opened up this very large book, and mom wanted something with color and illumination. And this had no drawing per se, but it had nice big red letters. And so it was pulled. It's a piece of parchment. It is not paper.
That is very cool.
Wow.
And yeah. So we've had it in the family since 1965.
I could ask my choir director at church. He's in charge of the
It's different
I
than
don't-
shape note singing.
but
That's
he-
all I know.
But he's got a doctorate in some aspect of music, and he's the director of vocal music at Lansing Community College, or the
Cool.
chair of the department. So he might have an idea of how to figure it out, if that's what you're after.
That is.
Just a curiosity.
Take a picture of it and send it to me.
Hey,
Email it.
All
to-
right.
hey, can I show you something real quick?
Hey, yeah.
Okay, this is my new toy.
Wow.
It's a beauty.
It's 1924 Gibson mandolin.
And have you had it taken into a shop?
I have a friend who used to work at Marshall Music who fixed it up for me. It was all split up. It had like sat in the basement for many years, and it was kind of see where he glued it together. Anyway, not to keep you longer than you want to. Thanks, everybody.
You can perform for us next meeting.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
Good night, everybody. Sweet dreams.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, that's great. Thanks.
If I can figure out how to leave the darn meeting.
Bye. No, I don't want to go. Guess I better go.
See ya.
Thanks.